A familiar walk should have been routine for me, but something happened which may have saved my life. We had had an unexpected break in the rain, and I seized my chance to get out for 40 minutes. I work from home, and it was so easy to morph from the office upstairs to the couch downstairs. I needed to see some daylight. I grabbed my raincoat, just in case, and headed to the woods, Hampton Woods, to the familiar paths I regularly walked. The Hampton estate never felt like public land. It felt like it belonged to those in the village. We protected it, and its presence protected us. Breathing in the fresh air, I felt relaxed, letting work seep out of my brain. I climbed over a stile, nearly losing my footing on the slick wood, but I regained my balance. I thought I could hear something in the trees to my left. On my right were beautiful, unspoilt fields, open and welcoming. But I felt uneasy. The hairs on my arm rose, as though my body was trying to warn me. The forest was so dense I couldn't see anything, but somehow I didn't feel alone. As I walked, I could still hear the rustling. It sounded like footsteps, measured, echoing mine. I picked up the pace and reached the end of the path I was on. I was deliberating whether to go further into the wood, the left path, or take the right path, which would lead me to the village. It had been so long since I'd been here. I was weighing up the decision, and then I decided. I was preparing to take the left fork, when I suddenly realised there was a dog, a beautiful black lab, blocking my way. I looked around for an owner, assuming they couldn't be too far away, when the dog began barking at me, loudly. As I approached, I could see he had beautiful hazel eyes, but no collar, and that was unusual for around here. Then he snarled. He was making it very clear he did not want me going down that path. I put my hands up as though in surrender and turned, walking down the right path instead. The dog, sensing victory, now followed me, trotting quite happily behind me. But when I turned to try and approach him again, he growled and planted his front legs. The ground was wet from days of rain, yet his fur was clean and shiny, like his loving owner had just bathed him. I got the message and kept walking down the path. I still couldn't see any sign of an owner for this gorgeous, if determined, dog. But I also could no longer hear any rustling in the trees around me. The footsteps had disappeared. As we broke cover, the woods ended, and we turned into the small road that led into the village. The dog stopped just before I reached the end of the road, barked twice, and looked at me. I waved at him, and he raised his head as if to say, "Bye then," and he ran back the way we had come. As I got home, it began to rain, and I was glad I timed it so well. That evening, a report came on the news, which made me pay attention. A dangerous criminal had been caught by police in Hampton Woods. He'd apparently been camping out there for a few days before he was found. The public had been warned not to approach him. The spot they found him was the very path I'd been tempted to take, before my four-legged companion had stopped me. Those unexplained sounds hadn't been rustling. It was someone breathing. A few weeks after the news report, I went into the Hampton Arms after a morning walk to get a coffee. On the wall, I saw a painting of the old squire from the 1800s, William Hampton, who had gifted the woods to the village. I'd not seen it before, as the landlady liked to rotate different pictures. By his side was a beautiful black dog. "Excuse me," I asked, "I've not seen that picture before. Is that a Labrador with him?" "It is," smiled the landlady. "Montague was his favourite of all the dogs he had. Very beautiful dog. Some people say they can still hear his barks across the estate late at night, but that's just local superstition. He was very loyal. Apparently, he could sense danger. Montague once barked non-stop before a hunt, she continued. It turned out that his master's gun hadn't been cleaned properly, and it would have backfired. That saved his life, most likely. As I left the pub and headed home, I felt dazed. I couldn't be sure the dog I'd seen was the same one as in the painting, but at the same time, I knew it was. I walked slowly up to the entrance of the woods before I made my way home. I whispered, "Thank you," and I swear I heard a short bark and a gruff in reply. I don't take the left path anymore, and sometimes, when the woods go quiet, I hear a bark before I hear anything else. Thank you for listening, and join us again next week.